So week 7 started the overall concept that I have been continuing since, and it kind of came from me looking through different surveillance footage, and kind of I was like noticing the time codes of each angle that they were placed around in the cities of like other countries, etc. And I found that there was just like this interesting aspect of all these cameras having the time codes. But then I'm also like, oh, I wonder what the world is doing at this exact moment of time. So let's say at like 12 o'clock, 12 minutes and 12 seconds where we are seeing the world from other places. And so this kind of idea of a multicam live view of surveillance was a really interesting thing to think, because it is like a kind of collection of moments of time that's all at the exact same moment, and you can see like at one end of the city someone's doing one thing, and then at the other end of the city someone's doing something else, and there's like this kind of interconnectivity that comes from the photography side. And so I wanted to explore that in the photographic medium by basically doing a multicam setup where each camera is synced to one another, that when the master fires, so the master camera, all other cameras go off at the exact same time. And so you basically have this collection of images covering a certain parameter, pointing at a specific thing that's like the same as others. And then when you fire at the same time, you get this one singular moment, but from different points of views. And that was a really kind of eye-opening revelation of like what photography is as a means to kind of capture reality, because as we see the world through our own eyes, we see it in a very subjective, singular view. We can't ever really be put in the perspective of other people. But if you decide to shoot something from different angles, different focal lengths, different like kind of ways of shooting, and you combine them together, you basically accumulate all these different subjective point of views into this well-rounded key object of reality. And so there is this like very true, honest sense of objectivity once you do something like that, because in essence, in order to get a full round understanding of the world around us, you've got to have different points of view discussing it and exploring it, or else it becomes a very subjective medium. And so that's how I kind of wish to explore this. And I basically started out just kind of getting the cameras that I had and just doing kind of a tester at this little runway show in Brunswick with my friend Francesca. And basically I set the transmitter on my camera and then the receiver on Fran's. And then we basically just documented this runway show going off at the same time, and then the results were really like just, you know, really cool. It was a really cool thing to see that someone doing something very specific is shown from the exact same angle, and there's this almost like kind of puzzling, interactive aspect to it. And that was the thing that really interested me was this kind of audience interaction, to see the same thing but from different angles, and you kind of piece together. You're like, oh wow, this means this thing, and then this thing means that thing when looking at a different thing, because you're essentially expanding the frame to be a more three-dimensional scene. And so I was like, okay, I really want to push this further by including more cameras and more of this documentary aspect to this idea, because photography in itself is a very documentarian thing. And so if we have this like language in the documentary sense, we can really explore this idea of like, what does it mean to be living in a shared objective reality?